there are some things that we believe because we did not think it clearly. We believe it just because it was said by our parents. We believe it because other people believe the same thing. So it doesn't come from our own thinking or our consciousness. Okay, apart from that, I will go more further on the end of the presentation, but I would like to highlight before the topic, which is Revelations. Okay, so in this case, in this course, Revelations is actually put into source of ethics. So if we remember Daniel's presentation previous weeks, we have source of ethics from the divine sources from God, and we have the source of ethics made by human. And it doesn't substitute each other, it's actually complementary because we both need the source of ethics which come from God, and we also need source of ethics come from human. The problem is, how do we arrange these ethics, and how do we make a priority, the hierarchy of these ethics? Which one we prioritize when we deal with a problem? That's actually the question of our life, actually. We arrange, we make a structure of these ethics. Revelations is actually the way we develop these ethics, which is the divine command or religion. So Revelation gave us messages, gave us guidance from God, which would guide us and serve as an ethic, serve as a guideline, a reference on how to decide what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad. So actually, Revelation is actually, we can say it as same thing as ethics, but the substance, the content comes from God Himself, not from human. Now, the problem is that sometimes Revelations is not as simple as we see it, because in every religion, revelation is made on different ways. Buddhists, for example, you say that Buddha had the revelation when he sat under the Bodhi tree, and he was basically just a mentor of all people. Well, that's something different than if we call it in the Christianity or Islamic tradition, where Moses directly spoke to God, and God gave him 10 commandments. So it's if we look into the meaning of revelation, then we would find different kind of revelations. In every religion, they have a different type of how the revelation was revealed. Moses had the commandment by speaking directly to God Himself, while Muhammad, on the first time, he didn't spoke to God directly. The message was delivered by angel Gabriel or Jibril. So every religion have different kind of way of revealing divine command. And after different kinds of how the messages were revealed, we also would find that the content of revelation is also varied. They have various contents of revelations. The content of revelation might consist of command, matters of prohibition, concept of God, prophecy, history, codes of conduct. They are very various. So sometimes it's very difficult to distinguish does religion contradicts with law or not, because the content of religion is very
Good.
Yeah, various. I mean, it consists of many things. And also the law consists of many things. So it's not so easy for us to actually judge whether religion or law contradicts each other or not, because the content of Revelation itself is not that simple. Okay, Yulun also mentioned it because it's written on the material we gave. There are probably three ways or three opinions on how people made an assessment whether Revelation is true or not. Some people who are skeptic with religion would say that Revelations is nonsense because it contradicts with the findings of science. Probably that is what occurred in the Renaissance age in Europe, late 12th or 13th century, where scientists said that how is it possible that the words of God contradicts with findings of science? There are actually three opinions on revelations. The first one is from Thomas Aquinas. He was a priest, so he's Christian. He lived during before the Renaissance age, around like the 13th century. Thomas Aquinas he proposed that revelation can never contradict the findings of reason, saying that religion could not contradict the findings in science. So if the finding of science contradicts with the revelation, then that religion is probably false, something like that. Thomas Aquinas proposed that point, meaning that God would never make any mistake. He would never send messages that contradict with the findings in the nature, would never contradict natural law. That was Thomas Aquinas' proposal. In the same time, but in a different place, Aquinas was in Italy, if I'm not mistaken. Ibn Rushd was in Spain. Ibn Rushd said that reason and revelation are different and in comparable discourses. So it's not actually wise for us to say whether revelation contradicts or goes along with religion or not. For example, for Muslims, Muslims are prohibited to eat pork. Okay, do we have any idea why God forbids us to eat pork? Worm. Okay, that is findings of the 19th century, when the command, where the prohibition of eating pork was first delivered. It was around like year 600 during Muhammad's lifetime, and people did not have the technology to examine whether pork had worms or not. Worm was found maybe 19th century nowadays. Muslims can guess that, probably God forbid us to eat pork because they had worms in it. But the Quran, the Hadith, never mention anything about worm. So we Muslims can only guess the reason why God commands something or prohibits something. But Muslim, cannot predict, cannot say the true reason why God commands something or forbids something. That is Ibn Rushd's opinion. People can guess why God say this and that, but people could not guess the real intention of God. That's Ibn Rushd's opinion. Except if God Himself say the purpose clearly in the Scripture. That's Ibn Rushd's proposal. The last one, Francis Bacon. Bacon lived like 300, 400 years after Aquinas and Ibn Rushd. Bacon said that revelation has no bearing on natural science. Natural science could go on their own way, and revelations could go on their way. There's no need for revelation and science to be coherent, to go along. They can contradict, they can go along. It doesn't matter at all. All of these three perspectives have challenges in it. If we go into Aquinas' proposal, then we would find that a single flaw with the religion would bring the whole revelation, the whole religion down. If Thomas Aquinas' opinion is true, then if there is any single flaw with the religion, that we can say the religion is false. That is if we believe in Thomas Aquinas' proposal. If we go into Ibn Rushd's perspective, we can say that why we bother studying Revelations if those things are incomparable? I mean, why do we need to waste our time in studying Revelations if from the beginning we say that those things are incomparable? Well, the third perspective, the challenge for Francis Bacon's proposal is, if religion, does not have any bearing, does not need to be coherent with natural science, is God actually joking? I mean, is God being defective? Is He making mistake on purpose? I'm not saying which one is the true one, Well, even though personally I believe in Aquinas and Ibn Rushd's perspective, but this is information if you want to reflect on religion. Then yeah, you might want to ask these questions. Yeah, because I had the experience when I had a doubt on Islam, I had a doubt in other religions. That happened to me, and these questions also came up to me. And after all of this brainstorming, all this thinking of these religions, I came up with my current religion or my current faith. The problems when people challenge about religion or people make judgments on religion is that we tend to make confirmation biases. Who did the presentation for the second topic, logical fallacies? Logical fallacies? I think I was absent that day. Who made the presentation? Huh? Logical fallacies?
Second
third meeting, second topic?
Lee.
Okay. Yeah, you remember confirmation bias? Selective thinking, remember that fallacy? No? Okay. Confirmation bias or selective thinking is making a judgment based on partial information. So we make judgment not because we know things on its entirety, but we just know partial information. It's like saying Yayang is naughty, because when I meet Yayang at campus, he often annoys other people. But I don't know the reality that Yayang is actually a kind person. Outside the campus, he cares for other people, he cares for children on the streets. So my accusation that Yayang is naughty, Yayang is a bad boy, is false because my judgment was made on partial information. I only make judgment based on what I see, not Yayang on his entirety. Yeah, the same goes in religion. Sometimes we judge the religion is right or wrong. We judge the teachings is silly or not, just based on partial information. Yeah, I don't mean to offend the Hindu tradition, but when I was little, in junior high school, when on history class, the caste system, kasta system, Sudra, Parya, Brahmana, Kshatriya tradition was explained to me as a junior high school student. Yeah, me and my friends thought that what is this? I mean, this is very silly. This is not suitable with the current condition. Yeah, but in that time, we had so little information about the Hindu tradition. So it is actually not very wise for us to judge the caste system as something ridiculous because we judge it based on very little information. But now, I think, I have an appreciation for that caste system because I believe that is how the Hindus organize themselves. And that is actually something that we could not say simply as something ridiculous or bad. Okay, so people will tend to make judgments based on selective thinking or confirmation biases. We assume that we understand, we comprehend revelation in its entirety, and we assume that we have the entire comprehension on reality. So we assume we know religion, we assume we know reality. When we make this assumption, that we might come into the wrong conclusion. Saying that, example, if we examine Thomas Aquinas' perspective. And in Muslim tradition, we have fasting in Ramadan. Fasting from Fajr, from dawn to Maghrib. People in the 7th century, where Islam was first brought into the Arabia would probably think that fasting is something ridiculous. Why would you stop eating? Why would you stop eating for like 12 hours a day? Isn't that something that would be harmful for your health? People on the 7th century would probably think that way, because in their conception, they assume that if people don't eat, then people would get sick or people would die. But findings in probably the 20th century, there are proponents, there are people who support the practice of fasting. Not necessarily fasting in Islam, also fasting in Christianity or in Judaism. Because these people find out that every once in a year, people need to rest their stomach, their digestive system. And therefore, actually, fasting is something beneficial for people's health. You see, the conception of reality is different. The 7th century people believed that not eating would make people get sick. 20th century people would believe that not eating for a small time would be beneficial for people's health. If we apply Thomas Aquinas' perspective, where revelation cannot contradict science or nature, on the 7th century, we would come to the conclusion that fasting is wrong. But on 20th century, we would say that fasting is right. Okay, so you see where I'm going? People make judgments on different comprehension or conception of reality. 7th century people would think that fasting is wrong because they believe that fasting is harmful, but 20th century is different. So the application of Thomas Aquinas' proposal or perspective could come into different results if we go into different time frames. 7th century would say Islam is wrong, 20th century would say Islam is probably right. So the implication, there's also another example of how we make selective thinking. It's not I'm having one-sidedness to Islam. I'm just saying that it's because it's the closest example I can get. In the Quran, there is a verse saying that فَإِذَا انشَقَّتِ السَّمَاءُ فَكَانَتْ وَرْدًا كَالدِّهَانِ. When the heaven is rent asunder, it's like the skies are broken.
Big bangs.
It becomes rosy or red like red oil. People in the 7th century, where Islam was first brought, they probably had no idea what this thing means. But in the 20th century, the findings of Big Bang would suggest that this verse is probably describing the Big Bang theory. Within 1400 years, how people comprehend reality hasn't stopped. How we comprehend revelation is not. Islam is not finished when Muhammad was dead. Islam needs to be explored until the day of judgment. To the Armageddon. Until the end of time. The study about religion is never ending, because our conception on religion and our conception on reality is always never perfect. You see what I'm saying? All the time till the end of time, till we are dead, we would never escape these biases, these selective thinking, because we would never ever be able to understand revelation or religion in its entirety, and we would never have the chance to understand the world in its entirety also. So that is why the implication that studying revelations and truth of reasons is continuous and never ending. For me, myself, I could not say that I am satisfied with my religion right now. I cannot say that I am satisfied with Islam. I need to continuously improve, to continuously think again. We think again about Islam and about the world, because I could never escape the confirmation bias I made. I now believe in Islam, but my belief right now is actually based on confirmation bias, because my information is more sided to Islam. It is very possible if someday I had the information and then my religion changed. That is very possible. Though in my current condition I would prefer not to. But what I'm saying is that we could not stop learning, we could not stop understanding about revelation and truth of reasons. So yeah, if you somehow meet an agnostic or atheist people, then you could not say that that's the end, bro. I mean, you cannot say that. If you say that you're an atheist, then that's it. If you really are someone who looks for truth, then you should keep continuing learn revelations and learn reason, because the decision you make as an atheist or an agnostic is not a final decision. You made the decision based on confirmation bias, based on selective thinking. Look, is it okay if I bring your example of your sacrifice the fruits, and then you expect that God would say, "I'm here." Okay. Okay. Let me demonstrate you something. Anyone who would like to volunteer, come in front, draw me something? Would you please, someone?
Yeah.
No, Sophia. Other one. Other people. Yeah, I believe, because you. To compensate your absence in the presentation, yeah. You should help me know with something. Yeah, anyone. I just need one. What? Okay, please draw a sheep. Sheep. Sheep, yeah, sheep. Domba, sheep. Shaun the sheep. Is it possible? Oh. Yeah, just go with how you like to go. This is not an art class, it will not be exam. Just draw a sheet. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. Kambing, domba. Kambing is goat. In Malaysia it's different. Yeah, I mean, Shaun the sheep, yeah, okay. Don't say kambing or domba, Shaun the sheep. You know, Shaun the sheep. Just draw it.
Bidi.
Shaun the sheep.
You have ever playing Harvest Moon?
Come on. You don't have all day. Just draw a sheep.
It's okay.
It's okay. Just draw a sheep. Come on. Yeah, sheep. Just draw a sheep. Yeah.
sheepish.
Yeah, okay. Okay, that is Andre's.
Andre, you're so scary,
Yeah, I would also like to draw myself the sheep. Yeah, probably like Sham the sheep. Okay, I'm not saying which sheep is the better sheep. Okay, what I'm saying is that what we draw here is something we call conception or concept or idea. What we draw here is the idea of sheep, the sheep within our heads. What we draw here is sheep within our heads. An actual sheep is actually different. Yeah, probably this one is more similar. But we also find that there are sheep without horns. So this idea of sheep is also correct. This idea is correct, and that is the actual sheep. The same goes with how we believe in God. We have a concept of God. We have an idea of God. We have an idea of God, but we don't know the actual God. You see what I'm saying? just like sheep. My information from what I know about sheep, my concept of sheep is like this. From what Chatri knows from his life, he displayed the projected sheep as something like this. Because my source of information is different with him. That is why we have a different concept of God. Of sheep. I'm mistaken. The same goes with God. I'm not asking you to draw God, no. But the same logic, the same process occurs. From what I studied about God, then I would say that God is blah 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 with his his characteristics, his nature, his blah blah blah. And you would come to a concept of God based on your own experiences. All of us have our idea of God, but we still don't know the actual God, the real God, because there's always possibility that our idea of God is different than the actual God, because we all make the confirmation bias, we all make the selective thinking. Even though I read, even though I read the Quran every day, for example, it doesn't guarantee that I have now the actual. I know how God is actually like, because all of us we are still in the process of making the conception. Now, the problem. No, I'm not saying the problem of an atheist or not the problem. I mean how the logic between people who are skeptic to God is they have a concept of God, a pre-concept of God, and then they force it into reality. For example, I live in in a village or a community. A community where we believe that a snake has wings. Say that I live 20 years in a community where the people in this community believe that snake has wings. So when I ask them, what does a snake looks like? Snake looks like, yeah, it's long, it's a reptile, it has a tongue, Y-shaped, has fangs, it has scales, and it has wings. That is what my community or my people will say about snake. So they say, Lisa, if you go to the forest, if you go to the jungle and you find this creature which has fangs, which has the tongue Y-shaped, which has scales and has wings, that is snake. When I go to the forest, when I go to the jungle, I found a creature. It has scales, it has fangs, it has this wide tongue shape, but it doesn't have any wings. What is my conclusion? Snake does not exist. Snake does not exist. Can you see where I'm going with this example? Sometimes the problem for people who are skeptic with God or skeptic with religion is that they had a false concept of God. And so when then they come to reality, they didn't find what they look for because the concept of God is wrong. Because what they know about God is different than what they find in reality. People tend to make a preconception of God and then they force it into reality, and once they didn't find their concept in reality, they believe that God does not exist. This is just one example of how people could came up with the conclusion that God does not exist. That is why in some traditions, in some religion, the verse of the scriptures say that go look the skies and that is the sign of God. Go look for the sea, that is sign of God. Because religion does not tell us to make a preconception of God and then force it into reality. But we look into the reality and then we build the concept of God. You see? Do you understand what I'm saying? So instead of you make an image, you make an idea of God and then you force it into reality, you look to the reality and then you build the concept of God. Because our scriptures, both scriptures, would command people to do so. It's not don't make an a priori, make a preconception, pre-assumption of God, but you look for the world and then you build the concept of God. Okay, so yeah, I mean, that's, not a mistake, but the logic the logic or the process that happens when people are become skeptic to God. And, I don't know precisely in your own scriptures, but in my scripture in Islam, we don't make the conception of God because it's explicitly said in the scripture that we should look to the nature and then that's the sign of God. You don't make preconception and then force it into reality. Because when we make the preconception of God, it's difficult for us to understand how God is actually like. For example, when I was 5 years old, I was introduced with the name Allah, because previously I lived in Canada. I studied in Catholic school, and when I came back to Indonesia, I studied in Islamic school, and I was surprised that people in Indonesia don't believe in Jesus. They believe in something else. They believe in Allah. My concept of Allah when I was 5 years old was something like a people wearing a robe with face total black. That is what I think of God. And then when my parents say that God gives us life, God created the universe, what I had in mind is someone using a robe with no face, with just blackness inside. moving his hands and then making plants grow, making people. That's what I had in mind when I was little. Because I had a preconception, I had a concept of God, and then I forced it. But the thing is that we probably don't know what the actual God is like. So instead of making preconceptions and force it to reality, we do it otherwise. Okay? Okay, yeah. Any questions? I think I'm going far too long. Ilun, is this what happened to you or is it something else? I was just guessing.
When I forced the reality, I had a concept in the reality. Well, for me, my parents doesn't. They don't really teach me about religion a lot. So my only sources of religion is probably being through internet. And from the internet, I am more, let's just say, I would accept more about the concept of science. So science states that you can't explain what happened now, and you can predict, and that is very attractive. And I think that's why I reject the concept.
Okay. If we don't have a preconcept of God, then you say that universe is explained by science. Okay. I mean, yeah.
Not entirely. Not.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Say that the source of universe is from the laws of nature or something. Yeah. Just say something. Make what is it? A clear entity or a clear factor. Law of nature or science. Okay, can I say that the law of science is God himself? I mean, we believe in the same thing. Me and you, we believe the same science, we believe the same process of the creation of the universe. You call it science, I call it God. Is it justified for me to say that? Yeah. So that's the example of not making a preconception of God and force it to reality. But we look for the reality and then we make the concept of God. Yeah, personally I could say that yes, I believe the same science as you, I believe the same process of creation of the universe. You call it science, I call it God. I do have a God. God is what is God. The part of God is what science has explained. Another part of God is something which is not yet been explained. Because science is not well explained on its entirety, I look for another source. I look for another reference that tells about God. Okay. Personally, for me, my own experience is that I don't think that I have an idea of God, I force it to nature. But I make the concept of God by seeing the nature itself. I call laws of nature and what science explains as science of God, as what power of kuasa in bahasa Indonesia, kuasa Tuhan, ya, the power of God. So if other people say this is science, I would say this is God. But I know that laws of nature or science is not entirely revealed. There are still things that we still don't know. So the concept of God that I have right now is also not complete. I believe that this is a sign of God, but because this is not complete, then my idea of God is also not complete. That is why I have to look for references. I have to look for sources of information that would explain me better about God. So the process on how I came up with my own religion right now is that I started with seeing science, seeing nature. I call it the science of God. I make that thing God. But because I know that this is incomplete, then my idea of God is also incomplete. That's why I need to complete. I need to know. I need to know God better than before. That's why I look for references. And some of the references are in religion.
Sure.
That's the process of how I came to religion. So, previously I think religion is because my parents, but when I came to ITB on my first year, second year, I have doubts on Islam. I'm not sure Islam is right or not. That's why I make my own brainstorming, my own thinking. And this is what I came up. Because I think my conception of God is incomplete. That's why I need to complete it. By completing it means I need to know about religion. I open scriptures, I see Christianity, Hindu, Islam, Buddha, and because of the information I had, my choice falls to Islam. Because information I had. Yeah, it's possible if I had other information, my choice would go to different ways. It's very possible. So I'm not forcing that because my experience that Islam is the most logical, Islam is the most right. No, I don't have the integrity. I don't have the capacity to say that. But in my experiences, because the information